So this is my video with Mike Clean Learning, a School of Online Business, and this is analogous to if you've ever seen The Matrix, and at the end of the first one he makes that one phone call that starts everything. So now it's about time that I reveal the truth about who I am, where I've come from, and exactly how coaching with the coaching cognition platform and everything I've learned has revolutionized my life and made it very easy for me to attain success quicker than I have in the last 10 months. So I'm going to begin now in the present time. I'm writing a book based on helping entrepreneurs with ADD and adults and kids and children based on my clinical evidence and the work that I do with Dr. Hollowell himself. The online marketing company we have, Mighty Lime, is rocking, is doing fantastic. I'm healthier than I've ever been. My kids absolutely love me. I've got a brand new relationship with my 21-year-old son that he and I haven't spoken for 3 years, which is humongous. I'm able to have communication relationship with my first ex-wife so that my kids are more comfortable and they're doing fantastic in school. And it just seems like everything I touch turns to gold now. And so we're going to back it up though, because my life was nothing like that before. So let me explain. There's a lot of stuff I wrote on this board. And it begins kind of when I was born. And being born in 1972, I was born and I had asthma, and it was terrible. But what happened is my parents got divorced when I was 1.5 years old. And what they did is, instead of finding new partners and stuff like that, the way that it happened was the stepfather and the stepmom, they just switched partners and got married. And that created a lot of dysfunction, as you can imagine, in our family. And we were immediately sent over with the Navy to Hawaii. Now, I was able to play on the beaches and have a carefree life and grow up in the ocean, which I absolutely love. I would rather be surfing at the beach, in the ocean, probably better than anything else in my entire life. I love it. Now, as time goes on, we had to leave Hawaii to go to Connecticut. And it seems crazy, because you're going to this beautiful paradise to a really cold, icy place, and we actually moved into my stepmother's house. So even though people don't understand emotional sickness and mental sickness, I don't think I was healthy for the next 1.5 years at all in this house. I had bad asthma and things like that. But what was interesting is that I realized something about myself, that I was already different. I had more energy. I began to read at a very, very young age. At 3 or 4 years old, I was teaching myself to read. And in fact, in Connecticut, one day in first grade, the teacher came into the classroom, and I had, as a first grader, you know, those rocking chairs that the teachers are always sitting in with the cute little yarn rugs. All the kids were sitting there, and I was sitting in the chair reading to the class as a first grader. So the teacher's like, we need to bump this kid up to second grade. So that day, I went to second grade. I was only in first grade for a week. And the teacher had asked everyone in the class to raise their hand and come up with a word that starts with G. And everybody was saying, you know, gold or good or glory or something like that. And I raised my hand and I said, Nat, with a silent G. And all of a sudden, she realized that she had her hands full. And it just went on from there. And it seemed like I was either excelling in something or I was too bored. But I was always being pointed out as somebody who was different, or somebody who could be a problem or a nuisance or needed medication or something like that. So as time goes on, it becomes apparent. My mom goes to school. She's a school psychologist and a child psychologist, so there's all these tests. Well, I become the guinea pig at the house. So I'm taking every single test you would see in the DSM-1, 2, 3, 4, all of these different tests. And I'm killing it. I mean, I'm doing fantastic, and at a young age, it was becoming apparent to me that even more so, I was not only different, but I was very intelligent, but I was different. I had asthma, so it was interesting. The doctors were telling me not to run, not to do things, but I loved soccer. And I played soccer for many, many, many years, and I was fantastic at soccer. It was an outlet for me. It taught me fantastic teamwork, and I began to run more, and it was okay. Every now and then I've had an asthma attack, but then I got stronger. Well, around 8th grade, 9th grade, the team that I'd been on for many, many years, during a tryout, I missed a shot, I got kicked off the team, and my identity crashed. Absolutely had no idea what to do with my life, and thinking about it over and over, that's when I found drugs and alcohol as a young kid. And I did not know that my grandfather was an alcoholic, that my biological father was an alcoholic. I didn't learn that my stepdad was an alcoholic until I was 32. And it's a very genetic disease, so I became an alcoholic at a very young age, and I was drinking at 13. And it was just causing problems in my life, obviously, until the ripe old age of 20 years old, I got sober. And I went into AA. And I was very, very strong in this. And I had a wonderful friend who helped me out. I went through 2 degrees. I got a bachelor's degree in 4 years, and I got a doctorate in the next 4 years. And I thought I had figured everything out. And I thought that was childish behavior. And it was interesting because I could use the intelligence to get through school, and it wasn't really that hard for me, and I could really absorb the content because it was exciting for me. It was interesting, and we're going to get to that point. And then I thought I had taken care of it, and I could drink again, and I was wrong. And so for 10 years, I had a roller coaster life of things that would bring in fear and shame and guilt. And as we get to talk about the ADD, we realize that Dr. Hollowell says people who have the traits of ADD have a Ferrari brain, but with bicycle brakes. And those brakes fail or don't work as well when functioning through a lens of fear, shame, and guilt. And I was carrying loads of that because it was growing up with something where I was different. I was singled out as a problem. Kicked off a soccer team. I felt horrible about drinking and doing drugs as a young kid. I know a lot of us do things behind the scenes that we're not happy about. But it got to the point where I didn't want to feel my feelings at all because I know that I would self-medicate and try and push those feelings down as far as possible. And the work that I do now is working with folks who have the traits of ADD because I don't want them to have that future. I don't want them to have to think they need to self-medicate to not feel these issues that they have. Because most people, let's face it, they don't choose self-medication through a good outlet like exercise or art or music. Most people nowadays, they're going to go the wrong way. So it comes upon my life where I enjoy doing extreme sports. And I'm very, very fast, and I like to do running, and I like to do trail running and mountain biking. And in October of 2010, I broke my clavicle. And there's pictures in the video about this, and it's interesting because this is where my life changed. This is it. Now, I've been a chiropractor. Remember that. I'm a doctor. I use my body. I free the life force that's within every single person that's on my tables. I watch people heal. I watch them get well. I watch them do all these amazing things, and I'm their leader. But behind the scenes, I wasn't feeling great about the things that I still had in the past. And I couldn't really be who I was and really open up and share my love for the world and for my passion to do these things. So when I broke my shoulder, I couldn't do any kind of exercise. I couldn't do a push-up for 3 months. And I was on a couch for weeks and weeks and weeks. And all that energy from my body went up into my brain, and it just exploded. And all the lights came on, like a Christmas light, like a carnival. And I had to learn something new. So I started learning online marketing. I started learning marketing with how to talk with people, how to create blogs, how to do article marketing, video marketing, press releases, how to utilize all the social media, how to leverage different softwares to make things faster, do things quicker. And finally, it's just like if you had this room full of postcards with red yarn all over the place until finally one night I'm laying in bed and all these postcards are swirling around, and then it comes down to one thing. And then finally I figured that part out. But that still wasn't enough. Because at that point, my brain was so turned on, it was too much power for me. Too much power for someone who had a lifetime of fear, shame, and guilt, and despair, and I had no tools how to feel these feelings. I had no way to actually pinpoint and say, okay, this is what sadness feels like. This is what shame feels like. This is what guilt feels like. This is fear. The only thing I knew about fear was that physical feeling when I was surfing and I was trying to paddle into a huge wave, and I would just overcome that because I knew I could handle that. Now, emotional fear was completely different. And as months went by and years went by, it wasn't long before all of that power in my brain that was unleashed and all the things combined with the ADD became too much. And I couldn't self-medicate enough, and I had continued to drink, and it's the only thing I knew at that point. until finally just the wheels fell off the truck. And there was so much despair in my life. And this was behind the scenes of helping people, and it was like I was living a lie. And I didn't want to go on like that anymore at all. And one day I'm at the beach, and a very, very, very close friend of mine bumps into me and had never seen me drinking ever before. And she was blown away. She had no idea what to do. She had no idea who was in front of her. And she asked me, she says, "How bad is it?" And I broke down in tears, and I was crying and telling her everything. Until finally I realized that at that point in my life, I shouldn't be left alone, because I was a danger to myself at that point. Now, without self-medicating and stuff, fantastic person, lovable, great dad, great doctor, all these fantastic things. But there was this other piece of me that was so private, so dark, and so awful that I didn't want anybody to know about it. And that's where around July 23rd, my life changed. And I went into the programs, and there's a quote that I live by. It says, if you want something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. So I started going to 90 meetings in 90 days. I had 2 sponsors. Most people just don't even want to get one. And I put myself into a program that would make sure that I did not go back. I did not relapse. I wanted to understand, why am I wired like this? Why am I different? What's going on? And as fate would have it, Mike Klingler's coaching cognition program was offered around the same time that fall. And the combination of learning about what makes me tick and what happens, that's where the coaching changed my life. Because it gave me a safe place to open up. It allowed me this community of people that, yes, I know it was confidential, but the questions that we were taught to ask each other really drew out of me pieces that I hadn't want to look at for years. And I wouldn't have wanted to look at anymore until somebody would say, okay, it's safe for you to feel this emotion. It's okay. And I remember the night I was talking with Krishna, and we got to the point, and she says, why won't you feel these emotions? Like, what is stopping you from feeling? And it was basically, I was so afraid that if I felt these emotions, that I would go back to that life of drinking, life that I could not stand. I didn't want any more in my life at all. And I was so afraid to feel the emotions that were actually stopping me from becoming this incredible person that I am today, because I was afraid that I would go back to doing something that I didn't want to do anyway. It was the most asinine thought. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I knew that it was okay for me to feel feelings. And then I would go through, coaching gave me tools to look inside myself. Not only does the group, we talk to each other on a regular basis, we give each other metaphors and analogies to realize how can we handle a project. What behaviors did we do in the past that made us not follow through? How can we change those? There's a point at which we're getting through the class in the beginning where it became very apparent that I was very, very good at listening intuitively. I could listen to somebody talk to me on the phone, but in between their words and their tone and their changes of speed, I could intuitively, completely ask them the next question, and it would go right to their heart. It would go right into their soul, and it would bubble up, and they would just almost break down in tears, or almost instantly have an aha moment. And what's neat about that is with Dr. Hollowell and the SHINE program and ADHD, it talks about people who have those traits of an ADD brain. We are very intuitive, and we feel our way through things. And it's so paradoxical, because I was so afraid to feel. I had no emotions, but the fact that I have this incredibly powerful brain, I have to be able to feel, to do the things so I can help more people at once. It's amazing. So going through this coaching program helped to reveal the true me. This me that every 24 hours, I swear to God, it's the most exciting 24 hours. When I wake up, I have a kind of an idea of what I think the day is going to be like, but then by the time I go to bed, it's been the most exciting roller coaster of changes and people coming into my life and new contacts, or I was talking with nurses today in schools that are so hard to get into, and they're stoked to have us come in and help kids with ADD, with natural help. Not just some fancy supplement, but literally with a neurological program, with a metabolic change, with chiropractic care, with environmental changes, with educating the parents. And it realizes that we are moving towards something that's incredible. And this is where the coaching really helped bring out of me a concept that's going to be called the ADHD Society. And what that's going to comprise is, we know that ADHD has three things. And it's really a big deal with the entrepreneurs. And the entrepreneurial spirit is the impulsivity, the creativity, and the distractibility. And we're going to work on helping everybody to understand how to harness that and direct it to become the creativity, curiosity, and energy. And that's what we want to do, because we know that entrepreneurs, most of us fail. But this cream of the crop are just doing amazing. And they're the leaders, and they're pulling forward this incredible economy. So we get down to the coaching has awakened a spirit within me. And the coaching groups that I know have been through with Mike Klingler, they are some of the most amazing, enlightened people that love helping others. And we're getting to the point where that group of people, these empathic individuals, are going to move forward in this new economy, so that people can get this help, get paid for it, so we can all help more people. So that's where interesting, where the ADD brain is extremely intuitive, and it can feel its way through things, and it is the empathic mind. It's amazing how all of this comes together, and I look back over the last 10, 12 months, and it just seems like this is exactly what's supposed to be happening. Because with the ADHD Society, we're going to have an entire community of entrepreneurs, parents, adults, adolescents who will have this ability to harness this energy within their brain to make changes in the world so that we can have a better future. So I want to thank Mike Klingler for putting together the Coaching Cognition group, and I hope this is exactly what everybody wanted to hear. And this is really just a tease, because the details behind the scenes are something to really look forward to, so stay tuned.